When the newborn earth first opens its eyes, there are not many paths yet. The sky has not fully settled above it. There are no cities, no temples, and no human footprints on the ground. But myth does not leave that empty world flat. As soon as earth appears, it opens one more thing beneath it, a darkness with no visible end. That name is Tartarus. Tartarus is not simply a cave. It is also a little different from the underworld where the dead are said to stay. It is lower than that, the deepest place, so far below that even the gods do not easily look down into it. The Greeks did not imagine the world as only a bright surface. They felt that beneath the fields they worked and the sunlit ground they stood on, something else was there. An unseen force that was still unmistakably real. A darkness people could endure only by giving it a name. Tartarus is born from that feeling. If you think about it for a moment, it is frightening. Why would the world need such an abyss as soon as it begins? Would a beautiful earth not have been enough? But myth does not make the world that gentle. If there is light, there must also be a place the light does not reach. If there is an above, there must also be a below. So before Tartarus is a place of punishment, it is a name that shows how deep the world is. Later Zeus will use it as a prison for the Titans. But at the beginning, Tartarus is not merely a prison. The moment this deep darkness appears, a strange tension enters the world. Above, the earth begins to breathe. Below, a silence opens its mouth as if it could swallow everything. From then on, the stage of myth is no longer harmless. It is a place with danger built into it. Around that same beginning, a completely different force also appears. Eros. Here, Eros is not the winged child many of us picture. The first Eros is older, larger, and more difficult to reduce to romance. This power makes things that were separate turn toward one another. A lonely being begins to notice another being. Between distant things, an invisible path starts to form. A world cannot begin with place alone. Even if there is earth, abyss, and darkness, the story will not move if everything remains unrelated and apart. Something has to call to something else. Something has to meet something else. Only then does change begin. Eros pushes that change forward. He does not mean only sweetness or desire. He also means the force that makes a seed reach into soil, and the first tremor when two strangers become aware of each other. It is a pull wider than the word love. That is why the early appearance of Tartarus and Eros together is so interesting. One is depth falling downward. The other is the power that moves beings toward one another. One is heavy and frightening. The other is alive, restless, and uncertain. The first world holds both at once. Our lives are not so different. There are times when a place like Tartarus opens somewhere inside us. A darkness we cannot easily explain to anyone. A feeling we fear we may not climb out of. A memory we have kept closed for a long time. To live while carrying that kind of depth may be closer to being human than pretending it is not there. But if there is only depth, life sinks under its own weight. That is why a force like Eros is also needed, the wish to reach for someone, the curiosity that makes us walk again, the small pull that says everything is not over yet. Myth places these two powers side by side from the beginning. The world is not only a safe place, and it is not a motionless place either. There is deep darkness below. Above it, beings begin to move toward one another. The story does not start because fear has disappeared. It starts inside a world where fear is still present. Without Tartarus, the world would be too shallow. If everything stayed on the bright surface, the wars of gods, human suffering, and the weight of choice would have nowhere to stand. Without Eros, the world would be too cold. Every being would harden in its own place. Between these two, the first stage of myth comes alive. The dark cleft opens like a warning, and beside it, the power of attraction carefully makes a path. The beginning of Greek myth is not a simple birth story. It is the first scene of a world with darkness, beginning to move toward connection.